Writing. The slap cracked across the restaurant so loudly that every conversation in the dining room stopped. The young waitress stood frozen beside table 12, one hand pressed against her cheek, while the woman who had struck her stared with the cold confidence of someone who had never been told no. But then the restaurant manager noticed the small silver star stitched onto the waitress's uniform. His face went completely pale. Before we get into what that star meant, tell us where you're watching from and drop your city in the comments. And if you enjoy stories filled with secrets, betrayal, unexpected justice, and second chances, subscribe, like, and share this one with someone who loves a powerful twist. The restaurant was called Belmont, one of the most expensive dining rooms in Manhattan, where a single dinner could cost more than some people earned in a month. That evening, the private dining room belonged to Victor and Elena Cross. Victor was a billionaire whose name appeared on skyscrapers, technology companies, and charity foundations. Elena, his wife of 15 years, was famous for her immaculate appearance and her sharp temper. Their dinner had been going perfectly until a young waitress named Mia approached the table carrying a bottle of sparkling water. "Mr. Cross, Mrs. Cross, may I?" Elena suddenly looked at the glass beside her plate. "There's a mark on this." Mia glanced down. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'll replace it immediately. You should have noticed it before bringing it here." "Yes, ma'am." Mia reached for the glass. Then Elena's eyes narrowed. "You." Mia stopped. "You look familiar." Mia swallowed. "I don't think we've met." Elena studied her face for several seconds. "Your name is Mia?" "Yes." "Last name?" "Reed." Something flickered across Elena's expression. But it disappeared just as quickly. "Be more careful," she said. Mia quietly replaced the glass. As she turned away, Elena noticed something peeking from beneath the edge of Mia's white sleeve. A tiny silver star. "Wait." Mia turned. "What is that?" Mia looked down at her uniform. "This?" "Yes. It belonged to my father." Elena's expression hardened. "Your father?" Mia nodded. "He gave it to me before he passed away." Victor, who had been silent until then, looked up. "What was his name?" Mia hesitated. "Daniel Reed." The fork slipped from Victor's hand. It struck the plate with a sharp metallic sound. Elena stared at her husband. Victor's face had gone completely white. Mia noticed. "Mr. Cross?" Victor slowly stood. "Where did you get that star?" "My father gave it to me." "What did he do?" Mia smiled faintly. "He was a firefighter." Victor looked at the star again. Daniel Reed. For 20 years, Victor had carried that name in a place nobody could see. He had never told Elena the entire story. 20 years earlier, before Victor became wealthy, he had been a struggling young investor renting a tiny apartment above a bakery. One winter night, a fire tore through the building. Victor had been trapped inside. Daniel Reed, a firefighter, went back into the burning building after everyone else had escaped. He found Victor unconscious near a stairwell and carried him outside. But Daniel suffered serious injuries. His career ended that night. Victor survived. Daniel never returned to full health. Victor had spent years trying to find him, but Daniel had moved away, refusing every attempt at repayment. Victor had eventually established a foundation for injured firefighters, quietly naming it after the man who saved his life. And that silver star? It was from Daniel's old fire captain. A symbol awarded to firefighters who risked their lives to save another. Victor looked at Mia. "Your father saved my life." Mia stared at him. "My father told me he once rescued someone from a fire. He never said who." Victor stepped away from the table. "I've been looking for him for years." Mia's eyes filled with tears. He died 3 months ago. Silence settled over the room. Victor closed his eyes. I'm sorry. Mia nodded, fighting to keep herself composed. He always said the person he saved probably forgot him. I never forgot him, Victor whispered. Elena stood abruptly. Victor, enough. He turned toward her. She looked frightened now. Not angry. Frightened. Mia noticed. What does my father have to do with you? Elena's voice trembled. Nothing. Victor stared at his wife. Elena. She shook her head. Don't. Mia looked between them. Then Elena's gaze landed on the silver star again. You should have thrown that away. Mia frowned. My father wanted me to keep it. You don't understand. No, Mia said quietly. I don't. That's why I'm asking. Elena's face tightened. Then Mia noticed something else. A small scar along Elena's wrist. Her father's old photographs had shown Daniel wearing a wedding ring. Beside him, in one picture, stood a young woman. Mia remembered that photograph. The woman had the same scar. Mia's breath caught. You knew my father. Elena said nothing. Victor turned toward his wife. Elena? Tears appeared in Elena's eyes. Daniel was my brother. The room seemed to shrink. Mia stared at her. My uncle? Elena nodded. He was my older brother. Victor's expression changed from confusion to disbelief. You told me you were an only child. I lied. Why? Elena looked at Mia. Because Daniel blamed me for what happened. Mia's voice was barely audible. What happened? Elena sat down. Before the fire, Daniel and I had a terrible argument. He wanted to leave the city. I begged him to stay because our mother was sick. He stayed. The night of the fire, he went into that building. She wiped her eyes. I blamed myself. Victor stared at her. You slapped her because you recognized the star. Elena looked at Mia. I didn't know what to do. You could have told me. I was ashamed. Mia slowly removed the star from her uniform. For a moment, everyone expected her to put it away. Instead, she placed it on the table. My father never wanted people to feel sorry for him, she said. He wanted people to remember what he did. Victor picked up the star carefully. I will. He turned toward Mia. Your father saved my life. I owe you more than money could ever repay. Mia shook her head. I don't want your money. Victor paused. What do you want? Mia looked at Elena. I want the truth. Elena began to cry. And for the first time that evening, she stopped pretending to be powerful. She told Mia everything. She told her about Daniel, their childhood, their final argument, and the guilt she had carried for 2 decades. When she finished, Mia was crying too. But she didn't hug Elena. Not yet. Forgiveness, she understood, wasn't something a person could demand just because they finally told the truth. Victor quietly left the table and returned minutes later with a small envelope. Inside was a photograph. Daniel stood beside a much younger Victor outside a hospital. On the back, Victor had written a single sentence years ago. I survived because you refused to leave me behind. Mia held the photograph against her chest. Elena looked at her. I don't expect you to forgive me. Mia took a long breath. I don't know if I can. Elena nodded. But, Mia continued, I think my father would have wanted me to stop carrying other people's anger. Elena covered her face. Victor placed the silver star back into Mia's hand. You should keep this. Mia smiled through her tears. I will. Months later, Mia stopped working at Belmont. Not because Victor bought her a position. He offered her one, but she declined. Instead, she accepted a scholarship from Victor's Firefighter Foundation and began studying emergency medicine. Elena also changed. She started volunteering at the same foundation, where she spent every Saturday helping families of injured firefighters. She never asked Mia to call her aunt. She simply showed up, did the work, and waited. Nearly a year later, at a memorial ceremony honoring fallen and injured firefighters, Mia stood beside Elena. Between them rested Daniel's silver star. Elena reached toward it, then stopped. Mia gently placed it in her hand. "You can hold it." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure?" Mia nodded. "My father saved people because he believed no one should be left alone in their worst moment." She looked at Elena. "Maybe we can start there." Elena closed her fingers around the star. And that was the strange thing about the slap everyone remembered. It had begun with cruelty, but it ended by exposing a truth that money had hidden for 20 years. The star had never been a symbol of wealth, status, or power. It was a reminder that sometimes the smallest thing stitched onto a uniform can carry an entire family's history. And sometimes justice doesn't arrive as revenge. Sometimes it arrives as the truth finally being brave enough to stand in the room.